Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or whatever the time you are listening to us. I am Fred Maniego, your resident Watchcat, and your host in today's podcast episode entitled The Modern Hitlist, Redtagging in the Philippines. Kaya ka Watchcat, gising ka pa ba? Watchcat is an organization made up of students from all around the country that aims to spread awareness to certain political causes and issues here in the Philippines. I will be joined by our Watchcats Mary, Alexa, and Joshua, who have done their very best in researching to provide you with reliable and factual evidence. Red tagging has been a pressing issue for the past years in the country where 2,758 people were illegally arrested without custody and 1,138 with detention. Most of the victims have been known to criticize and call out the government institution. Today, we will be talking about what is red tagging and why should us, the normal citizens, care. Let us now call our watchcat Mary. Hello, Mary.
Good day to you, Fred.
Let us first discuss what red tagging is in the context of our country and how it is different from other forms of normal accusations.
Well, red tagging is a valid government policy based on 1950s America of St. Joseph McCarthy. It started by leveling and tagging citizens as either communi- ah, communities or terrorists without any sliver of evidence, and is different from a criticism from its purposes, motives, and places that made the difference from one another. Red tagging accusational in the way that people are red tagged just because they are suspicious. On the other hand, criticism is more on judgment and causes.
Alright, can you give us a case of red tagging that happened in the country?
Red tagging sets a grave danger to the number of victims. It is not right to justify the forces used by the government. Prejudice and most respected is needed in the red tagging. A little example is when a UP student journalists are tagged by red tagging by giving them a title that the Philippine Collegian is form of rebel recruiting. This issue brought um, this issue brought there to both the academic freedom and freedom of speech right for the student. And we can say that this kind of issue is still going on, not just in students, but also in the highest positions, from student to the media reporter.
Alright, thank you for that, Mary. Let me call next our watchcat, Alexa. Hello, Alexa.
Hello.
Alright, it was mentioned that most of the victims of these violations are journalists. Why are journalists often at the center of red tagging?
Yes, journalists who support the truth, are objective, and are genuine critics are the ones who have faced red tagging in the Philippines. For one, in the latest election of a president, and Ferdinand Marcos Jr. was a candidate. As we all know, martial law was implemented during Ferdinand Marcos Sr. regime, and many people suffered and died, and as a result of violating their human rights. During this time, some journalists spoke about Ferdinand Sr. atrocities against Filipino citizens and why the family should be held accountable and responsible for what they did. And this does not favor the majority of Filipinos since they are blinded by the fake news circulating at the time. So the citizens then red tag the journalist or the news organization and label them as biased, communist, or member of the MPA.
Now, how does red tagging impact journalism and the way news is delivered?
By illegally detaining and killing journalists, some news organizations become more subtle in how they deliver stories, while others continue to fight for press freedom, to objectify what is right, and to inform others about the atrocities committed by the government against their fellow journalists. For example, the Raptor and Inquirer are vocal about what they are fighting and always seek the truth. For one, the Rappler always seeks out every aspect of a story, such as when there was a protest of young youth chanting "Never Again" to martial law before the speech of the current President Marcos Jr. in New York. When many people, including the citizens of New York, protested for the loss of lives of those who suffered under martial law. But they also reported the speech of Marcos without bias to what they are advocating.
Alright, thank you for that informative insight, Alexa. Now, let us hear our watchcat, Josh. Hi, Josh.
Hey there, Fred.
Alright, as was mentioned, most of the victims are only those who criticize the government. But how can normal citizens be affected by this?
So, not only activists are being affected by this crisis, but also the netizens. So, they're forced to be silent about prevalent issues in the country because they're afraid to be detained and killed by the military forces of the Philippines. Hence, they cannot practice the right of freedom of expression. Red tagging has been more fatal ever since Duterte has been in the highest position of the country. There have been numerous of people being killed and jailed because of peaceful activism.
And why do you think should normal citizens care and speak up about this issue?
So, with the help of the advancement of technology, we can use social media. Through these platforms, we can be aware of the things that are happening in our country by signing petitions online. Even though some are afraid to speak up in public, he or she can use a medium such as social media. With the recent years, hashtag no to red tagging has been trending all over Twitter. It has reached thousands of netizens online. Thus, it has notified a lot of people on what is really happening behind closed doors. Through social media, a lot of people stood up for individuals who were red tagged. However, this isn't enough. We must urge our public authorities to implement preventive measures to stop ongoing red tagging and potential rise of retaliation against our environmental defenders.
Alright, that was a very helpful bit of information. Thank you, Josh. To conclude, we must put an end to and prohibit red tagging before we lose our ability to freely express ourselves, since this practice is a flagrant infringement of our human rights. It is our right to know and to call out the government for their wrongdoings. In the event that red tagging continues, the foundations of our democracy will be shaken to their very foundations. That is all in today's episode. Kaya ka-watch kat, kising ka na ba?